This is the trucker's log for October 9th. It's Tuesday. I'm in Florida. My last load took me to Miami, and I delivered on Monday. I've been sitting, just waiting, trying to get a load. Florida does not produce anything other than produce, which I can't haul without a refrigerated trailer. So it's a given. Anytime you go to South Florida, anywhere pretty much south of I-10, you're going to be deadheading out. So right now I sit in Jacksonville, Florida. A little recap of the trip. I loaded the last load, picked it up in Richmond, Virginia on Thursday. Didn't have to deliver it on Monday, and it was only 1,000 miles. So on Friday I made my way down to a little terminal that we have in Jacksonville, and was going to stay there until Sunday, until I realized that their satellite television doesn't have ESPN. So I came about 30 miles south down to the TA truck stop in Jacksonville, and got down here Saturday morning, and pretty much sat all day Saturday and Sunday watching football and NASCAR. And I got a 34-hour restart, so I got a fresh batch of hours. After the NASCAR race was over on Sunday, I got on the road, drove down to Miami, and I was going to a little community college down there. And I got down there about 11 o'clock, and it was a little teeny tiny place. It was a nightmare to get into. I had to back in off the street, and as soon as I started backing in, this idiot woman in a car pulled up because I was in her lane. I had to get, the street went north and south, and I had to get into the southbound lanes facing north and in order to set my trailer up to back in to their parking lot. Well, she sees me sitting there. I've got four ways on. I got my lights on. Well, she pulled up to me. I turned my headlights off, hoping that that would be a signal to her, hey, turn your headlights off and get your lights out of my eyes. Well, instead of doing that, she flashed her high beams on. And so here I am trying to back this truck in this tiny little parking lot. And this idiot is shining her high beams on me because she's too stupid to realize that it's a little bit difficult backing this truck. So I returned the favor and put my high beams on. And then she did it again, and I got out of the truck, and we had a conversation about it. And I told her I'd be glad to sit there and blow her horn if she would get her dumb fat ass up in my truck and back it in for me. She didn't want to do that, so she decided to sit there. So I got unloaded Monday morning and immediately headed north because I knew I had nothing. Came back up to the same truck stop in Jacksonville, got up here yesterday evening and spent the night. So I just got a load offer, picking up some John Deere tractors in Georgia, going to Minnesota. Total load is about 1,400 miles. I'm still 300 miles out from the delivery, so I'll do that this evening. Run up there and take a break. That will be ready to run, and I'm going to try my best to be in, if I can hustle and try to get the first tractor off. I'll probably have like 4 tractors, or maybe one stop will get the riding lawnmowers, and they usually stack them in these metal crates. So I'll have 4 stops. If I can get the first stop off Thursday evening before they close, then I can get the remaining 3 stops off Friday, and then hopefully get something for the weekend that'll keep me running. It's a pretty good paying load. The 2 loads that I've had here, basically I'll have 2 loads this week, Richmond to Miami, and then Georgia to Minnesota. Sometimes it's really hard to sit here and do nothing and just wait, because when I'm sitting here, I'm not getting paid anything. I only get paid for the revenue that I run, and it's really difficult. But I've run all the numbers, and I'm still going to have a really good week by my normal circumstances, or by my normal expectations. It's just hard to sit here and do nothing, because it's just an unknown, and you really have no idea what's coming from one minute to the next. So sometimes that makes it difficult, especially, you know, you've got to weigh. You have to keep a big picture mentality in this business, because when I got dispatched last Thursday with a load from Richmond to Miami, I immediately knew that I was going to run 600 miles for free coming out of Miami. There's just nothing there. And so I've got to make sure that the load going to Miami pays enough, and the load that I get after leaving Miami pays enough to cover that spread. To deadhead one of these trucks 600 miles will cost about $300 in fuel. There's also my time to consider. You know, your average driver that makes, say, 35 cents a mile on 600 miles is going to make about $200. So then that raises the cost to $500. Well, you know, then there's maintenance to consider. Most of us hold back about 10 cents a mile for maintenance. That's another $60. So that means the deadhead costs you $560. Then over the course of a month, I have $2,000 in fixed expenses. Well, you know, you can break all that down into mileage, but, you know, pretty much that 600-mile deadhead, when all things are considered, will cost between $500 and $600. So I have to make sure that the loads on either side of that pays enough to pay for my fuel, to pay for my fixed expenses, to cover the deadhead costs, and then the expenses for the load itself. This load that I'm going to pick up that goes almost 1,500 miles, I'll need to buy another tank of fuel. I've got a half a tank now, so that's about 600 miles worth. So I'll run it pretty close to empty. So that means I will get about 300 of the 1,500 for the load off, and then I'll stop and fill up. And a tank will usually last me 12 to 1,400 miles, depending on weight, weather, traffic, how hard I drive it, speed. A lot of times, I generally drive about 60 miles an hour to get the maximum fuel mileage out of the truck. You know, how I shift gears, how much I idle. But going back north, the weather should be nice and cold, so I won't have to idle the truck for comfort. And I've been fortunate here today in Florida that I'm sitting here and I've got my window screens in and just a 12-volt fan running, and I didn't have to run the air conditioner last night. So, you know, the truck burns about a gallon of diesel per hour. Well, I got here yesterday. I've been here almost 24 hours. Well, that's 24 gallons of diesel at almost $4 a gallon. You do the math. That's what, almost $100. So, and I've saved that by not having to idle the truck. So I'm going to be going up into Minnesota. Got 4 stops, get some tractors off. I know we have a couple of pretty good customers up in the Minnesota area. There may be some exercise equipment that comes out of one place down south of Minneapolis. We have one in the west side of Minneapolis that does store fixtures, usually pretty good paying freight, and they're dropping hooks, so I can go in and get them on Saturday morning if need be. And I've still got about 5 weeks before any scheduled time off. Today's the 9th. I'm going to go home on the 20th of November. I got summoned to a court hearing because I was a witness to a traffic accident one day when I was leaving the house. So the guy was drunk, so they've sent me a subpoena. I got to go in there and testify. And so that means I left home August 31st, and I won't be home for time off. I've been home, but it's been 6 hours here, 8 hours there. I think I got to spend about 30 hours one time. That's right. Weekend before last, I got to spend like 36 hours home. But I'm gonna take a week off for Thanksgiving. So I gotta hope that this freight keeps running, and I finally got my border clearance to run loads into Canada. So more than likely, the time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, if not sooner, if I can get them up, get me up there and get it going, that I'm going to start running those Canadian loads pretty heavy because they pay really well. I'm not scared of the snow. It's never been anything that bothered me all that much, so I just got to get a set of tire chains That way if the snow gets too deep, I can just throw chains on and keep on trucking. So that's the Trucker's Log for today, October 9th. Check me out on Twitter at Truckin'sR and Facebook.com/AnAmericanTruckDriver.